Before a show, I spend time tuning. I spend a lot of time tuning. I've never been a person who walks out on stage, applause, and then I tune and then play. I walk out and start playing straight away because I've spent time tuning. And you've got to get your ear used to the sound of everything being really in tune. Don't just buy a tuner and everything goes into the green and then off you go. Play the chords that are going to test the tuning, because guitars are not perfect. So if I tune this guitar with a digital tuner, I would then come up the neck and play chords like this. That kind of thing. Because I do that because I care, but also when I'm playing solo, everything is exposed, especially your tuning. So spend time tuning. Don't just hurry it and run out there. I carry one of these tuners with me all the time, and it's not just because it's a good and reliable tuner, but one side of it is a metronome, and so that's really convenient for me. I can tune and then I can practice with the metronome. So see if you can get yourself something like that. And I always tell people, don't buy a really expensive tuner where everything spins around, because you don't need to know what kilohertz your B string is spinning at. You don't need to know that. You need to know if you're in tune. And so if you even if you've got good eyesight, some of those tuners are hard to read on stage because you've got lights and all that sort of stuff. So this tuner here and the one I use on stage is a Boss tuner, and it's just, if the light's red, you're out of tune. As soon as it's green, you're at 440, bang, you're right on. So keep it simple and spend time tuning. Get used to the sound of being in tune. I started out as a fingerstyle player with a straight pick, with a plectrum. And then I saw a photo of Ted Atkins when I was about 10, I think. And he had one of these on. And I was like, oh, that's it, So then I started getting to work on getting my thumb independent. A thumb pick is an individual thing, Just because I use one of these, it doesn't mean it's right for you. You have to try different thumb picks until you find the one that's right for you. These Jim Dunlop mediums work really well for me. I don't want a thumb pick that's too thin, because I grab it and flat pick with it, and then I switch to fingerstyle. I swap over all the time, and I taught myself how to do that out of necessity. So experiment with different thumb picks. Try them on. Sometimes, if you've got a small thumb, then you should heat it up and bend it and make sure that it fits tight. But then if you have it too tight, then you get what Jerry Reed called blue finger. The end of your thumb goes blue and it's cold. There's no blood in there. So it's you got to experiment and find the right one. And also the sound of it. Some people use these Fred Kelly picks and slick picks and all that, and that works for them. But for me, they're too soft. And if I go to lay my thumb in, like in a Merle Travis tune, the thumb pick will fly across the room. So I got to have something that really sits well and fits well. The other thing I wanted to say was, we are different all the time. I carry at least 6 thumb picks in my pocket, because some days my thumb is a different size. It's slightly either bigger or smaller, and some thumb picks just don't fit right. Then the next day, the one that was not fitting yesterday is the one I use today because it's just right. Just goes to show you that even that minute detail is a very important part. If the thumb pick fits well and sounds good, then that's the one you should go for. When you first start using a thumb pick, it's kind of clumsy, and a lot of people give up on it pretty quickly. And I don't think I flat picked and was really comfortable with a thumb pick for probably the first 10 years of my thumb picking life, and it started to really kick in a little bit later. But basically, if you want to get the independence in your right hand going, you've got to start by just doing the thumb part and don't let the fingers do anything. Because everybody has the same kind of habit. As soon as they put a thumb pick on, everybody wants to go, right? Playing that second beat with their fingers. One, if you start doing that, that's a hard habit to break. What you need to do is to put the fingers down and leave them there. Don't let them do anything. Just practice playing the bass like that. I'll play some different chords. And, you know, practice it slowly, bring the tempo up, bring it back down, that kind of stuff. When I was teaching guys privately, when I lived in Australia back in the Stone Age, I used to, on the first couple of lessons, I'd say, okay, put your fingers down there. Then I'd put a piece of tape across them. And I would tape their fingers down so they couldn't bring them up. Because, you know, your fingers want to join in. They're rebellious digits. They want to join in. And so you've got to get that going first, you know, and understand that the thumb has to do all the backing. And also, it has to be the time machine as well. Your thumb is like a bass drum and a snare drum and a bass guitar at the same time. Or the left hand of a piano. So you got that. And the rule of thumb, if you'll pardon the pun, is the first note of every bar that you should play should be the root note of the chord you're in. So if you're in C, your first note has to be a C. See that? If I started here, it's upside down, you know. So when I switch to F, then it's G, right? C, E, A, D. So first note of every bar should be the root note of the chord you're in. So that's your kind of step one, where you put your fingers down, you let the thumb do everything. Second step is the beginning of getting the fingers doing something different to the thumb. This is really difficult when you've never done it before. It's like, you know, whatever that is. And so you leave your pinky down as your anchor point and spell out the chord like that with your fingers and keep your thumb going. That's just your second step. Your third step is a little harder. Now we're going to create something where the thumb has to stay steady and the fingers do something against it. This is the beginning of your brain and your hand connecting and your hand doing what your brain tells it to do. So, leaving your pinky down, you're going to play an accent like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ba, 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 ba. Now do that while keep the thumb going. So there's the thumb. And now the fingers. If you can do that, you'll feel that how difficult it is, and it'll be a mental conundrum for a while, but it will kick in if you keep at it. Okay, the next step is spelling out kind of arpeggios with your fingers while keeping the thumb going. So it sounds something like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. So the fingers are spelling out that, and the thumb's doing that. See that? Okay, if you can do that and practice it slowly and bring it up in tempo and back down again, then you're ready to learn a song. And the song I suggest you learn first, keep it simple as long as possible. Don't try to rush ahead to more difficult songs just because you think it might be more exciting. You got to give yourself a chance to build up this technique and to understand it. This is all new stuff. The thing that a lot of people don't realize is that it's not music yet. This is learning skills. So it's skill. When you practice the skill enough, it, like magic, it turns to music. But you can't have the music before the skill. You got to work on the skill first. So, the first song that I always teach is Freight Train, which is a wonderful old song. And it's right here. So I'm in the key of C, the Spanish key, C señor, right? And the melody's here. Okay, so you work out the melody, then you bar, 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 practice. There's the first two measures. Here's the next two measures. Next part, E7. And I'm doing what we call a rocking bar there. I'm letting my first finger, my index finger, rock down like that. Da, da, da. F. I'm bringing my thumb over the top just because I do that, but you can do it if that's better for you. So you work it out, then you practice it up until it starts to sound like music. Right, so you work on that, and then after you've got that down, you might want to do a key change or something. So you can come up to E, B, and C sharp minor, F sharp major. Back to C. With a little Chet Atkins lick on the end. So forth. So that's Freight Train, and that's the steps. The first step, just the thumb, fingers down, don't do anything. Second step, keep the pinky down, with the three fingers spell out the chords while keeping the thumb nice and steady. Third step is play an accent, da, da, with your fingers against what the thumb is playing. And then the fourth step, play arpeggios with your fingers while keeping the thumb going. And then work out how to play Freight Train. That's a good song to start with. Some of the other songs that I recommend would be Wind in Warm by Chet Atkins, Baby's Coming Home, Chaplain in New Shoes. These are some of the more doable songs that you can get your hands around. So I wish you all the best in your thumb picking life. Okay, playing this style is very different from like classical, for instance. You know, most classical players, the guitar would be at that angle, right? And so the hand is like that. This hand is on that angle, and so the thumb never goes past the halfway mark here on the neck. When you play the style that I'm playing, the guitar sits down there, so you can get your thumb over. You know, if you want to play Merle Travis style tunes, you know, you got to use your thumb a lot, and so that's a typical Merle Travis sound. There's what I call a fistful of E7th. That's how Merle Travis played E7. The third is in the bass. See that? Seventh, third, seventh again. Isn't that a killer chord? If you go back to the original version of 9-Pound Hammer by Merle Travis, the introduction goes, oh, this 9-pound hammer, so forth. You know how it goes. And Travis did that a lot. He'd also, with the thumb, instead of going, he'd just go like honky-tonk piano. That's what, to me, Chet Atkins came along, took that style, and put his own spin on it, and kind of neatened it and made it sound even more perfect, you know. But I love what Merle Travis plays. I love what he writes, and I love the sound that he was able to produce from those beautiful guitars he played. But a lot of it was to do with how he played and the shapes he used with his left hand. And if you've grown up like I have with no official training, then all your bad habits turn into good music somehow. You know, I always used my thumb across the top so I could get that, you know, that sound there. You know, in order to get those open notes, you had to bring your thumb across the top to play that. And then here's a typical Merle Travis shape. This is B flat 13 with a what would that be? That'd be a flattened 5. So you're in C, B flat to A. That's a typical Merle Travis move. He would do something like that, and then playing those D shapes. You see, I'm not going. I'm going. That's a typical Travis sound, and in order for me to get that sound, you see, I'm covering 2 strings with the one finger there, and then when I switch to the thumb. Now, when I play the C's, especially if I'm playing a tune like Saturday Night Shuffle, I'll cover those 2 strings with that finger. So you get, now it's a C6. It's a very cool sound. It's a very 40s sound, isn't it? So that's some Travis moves. I use those a lot in other songs as well because it's such a great sound. And some of these open style runs. And that again is a typical Chet Atkins sound. And they're like a banjo roll. So 1, 2, 3. If you speed it up. You can make that work wherever you've got some open notes to ring against one another. You can do that there. So, and the funny thing is, if you go back and watch Merle Travis play Cannonball Rag or any of those, he gets that. He doesn't make that sound. He does it with a pick and his finger. He goes. It's a lot harder, but he made it look easy, and you know. So Chet came along and did it with his fingers, like that. So there's some of the interesting little techniques that you can use, and you can throw them in the middle of a tune just to make it interesting and to break the song up a little.